You're on. Ronnie? Oh, okay. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Today is Thursday, March 25th. Time is 11 a.m. This is a special meeting agenda to consider human resources personnel changes. Attending Commissioners Duncan, Brooks, and Filios. I am awaiting a text. I might have to leave the meeting whenever the text arrives. So it'll be Commissioner Duncan will take over as vice chair, and of course Bill. So hopefully they can make the decisions. If not, then obviously that gets deferred. So it doesn't happen often, but every once in a while, duty calls, I guess you might say. Okay, so first business item, and this is an action item, reorganization, conversion to 2 positions at the airport. Steve?
Chris, we do have 2 items to remove from the agenda.
Okay, so we do have changes. Go right ahead,
Yeah,
Kim.
so item number 5, market study on the Communications Services Administrator. And item number 6, request to add Communication Service Administrator position to sworn officer matrix and hiring salary.
Okay. Okay, so items number 5 and 6 are being removed. Okay. Thank you, Kim. Sorry about that. Okay. First item, reorganization, conversion to 2 positions at the airport. Stephen?
He's online.
Commissioner Stephen Kerr, for the record, I'm not sure if I'm going to be handling this or if HR is, but this is hopefully the last item to transition the lead positions into duty manager positions. It's just the final approval from the board that we can move those positions into the duty manager positions.
Okay, Kim, did you want to?
Yeah, he's absolutely accurate. The last time we were here, we adopted the grade for the duty manager position and said at that time we'd be back one more time to ask to convert these positions. It's within his budget. It's just the final step in the reorg.
Okay. Is there any need to consider executive? Or there's no need to go into the personalities or the individuals?
No, he's selected 2 candidates and is ready to make the transition.
Okay.
So no need to go.
All right, was there a motion then?
Sure. I move that we approve the reorganization conversion of the 2 positions, lead to duty manager for the airport.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan.
Aye.
Chairman Filios.
Aye, and the motion is carried. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
Let's move on to the second item, request to convert customer service clerk 2 to a 3, and that's the assessor, Reba?
Yeah, Reba Gritness, Assessor's Office. Back in October, we downgraded a customer service clerk from a 3 to a 2 for the applicant that we had coming in. He has since moved on into our residential appraisal department. So now we have a new applicant, and she's very qualified for a 3 position, so we want to jet that back to a 3.
Okay.
Any concerns, any questions?
Nope.
Okay, is there a motion?
I move that we approve the request to convert the customer service clerk 2 to a clerk 3.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan.
Aye.
Chairman Filios.
Aye, and the motion is carried. Thank you, Reba. Moving on to the third item, request for higher duty pay for the interim manager at the assessor's office. Reba?
Yes, we've had a vacancy in the commercial appraisal department since October, and we have a senior member that's going to step in interimly and at least have somebody can go to. She's been there 37 years, so I think she probably knows a thing or 2.
Okay. So what's the budgetary impact? It looks like we've got
Still a savings.
some savings, still a savings. Okay, sounds good. Any concerns, Leslie, Bill?
Nope.
Motion.
All right. I move that we approve the request. Did you have anything, Sylvia?
We want to make sure
It's retroactive
that
to
it's
pay
retro.
period
Thank
4.
you. Appreciate that.
I move we approve the request for higher duty pay for the interim manager for the assessor's office at retroactive to pay period 4, which is February 1st of 2021.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan.
Aye.
Chairman Filios.
Aye, motion is carried. Thank you,
Thank you.
Reba. Okay, moving on to item 4, request for overtime allowance for district court. Marissa, please.
Yes, Commissioners, I'm here to request an additional overtime allowance of approximately $68,420. Hopefully we won't use all of it, but we kind of got hit by a meteor this year with COVID issues.
Sure. And then, Dean, I have a question for you. I see that we got some reimbursement for the overtime, but we still haven't gotten the big payment. Okay. So I would ask that this be approved out of contingency, but then when the COVID dollars come in, that we take it out of the COVID dollars because it's directly related. Dina? Okay,
Oh, that's fine. Okay.
okay.
Dina, do you have any idea how much we anticipate
sorry.
receiving?
Dina, we can't hear you online.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, come forward. I'm sorry. From the COVID relief, yeah.
From the COVID relief. So we spent almost 2 million and we were given the opportunity for 4. So we're waiting for that extra 2 to come back.
Okay, so there's good reason to suspect that they'll reimburse the full amount.
Yeah, they've said that
Okay.
they would. It's just it's a matter of time.
Super.
Yeah.
Okay. Bill, questions?
No.
Go ahead. Motion.
I move that we approve the request for overtime for district court as outlined, with payment to either be contingency or a different funding source to be figured out at the end of the fiscal year.
I second the motion.
Bill Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan.
Aye.
Chairman Philios.
Aye, motion carried. I'm sorry, Marissa, you wanted to.
Did you?
Oh, I know we do have some, we have had a harder time hiring lately. There hasn't been that many people applying. And so filling the positions taking longer with the higher unemployment rates and such. So there should be hopefully some funding there. I don't know if that's eligible for that to go towards the overtime or not, but
I think it'll shake out in the end.
Yeah.
I believe it will
It
also.
should.
We just have to get the contingency part on the record in case it comes from there.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we've stricken items 5 and 6. Moving on, goodness. Moving on to item 7, request for exception to policy 120. And this is a promotion within community development. Director Callahan, David?
Commissioners, David Callahan. This is really in fulfillment of an item you recently approved where we bumped the position for plan review, and this person would fill that spot. They're caught betwixt and between our policy manual and the timing of these things, and so this is all spelled out for you in a memo from John. I hope that answers it sufficiently.
Yep. Okay, so you're coming in at below 95% of market. Right, 92.5%.
92.5.
Yeah, okay. Okay. I'm looking at the financial analysis. Okay, so you're expecting a savings, are you?
In
And go ahead, say it. 2021?
21.
Yeah.
Dina, can you just sit up front, please?
Yeah, why don't you make it a lot easier? Thank you.
We're just gonna have a little name tag put right up there for you.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay, so we have a fiscal year 21 current fiscal year savings. Okay. Going forward?
There will be an increase to the overall budget.
Okay. And that is how much here? Is that the 67 versus, no,
Annual effect will be 12,329.
12,329. And you've just instituted or about to fee increases, is that
The
correct?
increases on April 8th, and setting that aside, this is one of those things where if we don't do it, we pay dearly in concerns by our building community that we're not keeping up.
We are already.
well, and I kind of want to point out that this is almost a little bit of a shell game. You wouldn't even be before us if you just hired outside for this position.
Thank
So
you.
it's one of those things
That's a
where,
good way to look at it.
yes, because he's an internal candidate, that's why you have to come before us because of policy 120. So I'm fine with the change.
Bill?
No, you have any?
Okay. Thank you. Okay, motion.
I move we approve the request for exception to policy 120 as outlined in the memo for community development.
I second the motion.
Bill Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan.
Aye.
Chairman Philios.
Aye, and the motion is carried. Item number 8, request for part-time planner 2 position. That's what you get
Commissioners,
for sitting down.
we have a person filling this position now that's been fabulous, frankly. Her husband is moving on to a better position, and of course, she's going with him. But in today's world, we can still keep her virtually.
Oh.
And that's what we would like to do. This would make that possible. Meanwhile, Ben's already on top of trying to fill the full-time position. But this is a case where we have a bird in hand. I want to keep it. I want to be able to, I mean, this particular person really is exceptional. And it helps us while we're trying to fill a gap to have someone working so that we don't get further behind.
Okay. And the increase looks to be something on the order of about 40 cents an hour. Oh, no, I'm sorry, forgive me, that's an annual.
$30,000 annual.
14,000 for this year.
Yeah, that's annual.
And then,
Okay.
yeah, 28,000. And so I assume that when you come before in the budget process, we'll have all these positions lined up and so we can determine how many you need going forward to keep up with the
Yes.
increased demand.
Exactly.
Okay?
So we get to keep a valued employee.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any more questions for David? Motion.
I move that we approve the request for part-time planner 2 position with community development.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan.
Aye.
Chairman Philios.
Aye, motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome. Item 9, request for employee bonuses, Office of Emergency Management. Tiffany.
Tiffany Westbrook for the record. The request before you is to provide a one-time $1,500 bonus to the 2 positions in my office. These bonuses would come from salary savings from our current vacant positions that has been vacant since November 2020. Based on the salary savings from the preparedness coordinator position, a savings of a little over $14,000 exists. After the 2 one-time bonuses, a little over $11,000 would still remain. While it is the mission of the Kootenai County Office of Emergency Management to respond quickly to disasters of all kinds, COVID-19 has presented unique challenges to our office, as this emergency has been a sustained one requiring ongoing mitigation and response efforts unlike any response to date. Despite this, my staff has gone above and beyond to provide needed PPE for county departments and community partners. They developed and disseminated surveys to track needs and then source needed supplies to help ensure the county was receiving the best deal on products. They have spent endless hours attending meetings daily with public health partners and our first responder community to make sure our community partners and county departments could continue to do their job safely. They work closely to activate the EOC and relocate the EOC when spacing and distance caused concern. They helped manage and facilitate the move from our old offices to our new facility, packing, hauling, and unpacking countless boxes. They have sat on committees to help oversee the use of CARES funding for the county. They have worked to staff and train volunteers to serve in the EOC and offer support to our partner agencies. They facilitated vaccination efforts with PhD to provide accurate numbers for needed vaccines and then shared needed information with first responders to get them vaccinated as quickly as possible. And most recently, they have helped to facilitate the relocation of the PhD call center to our new facility. They did all of this while also working to balance the day-to-day demands of our office's operations, such as facilitating the State Homeland Security Grant Program, finalizing the 5-year update of the All Hazard Mitigation Plan, facilitating the county training and exercise program, and ensuring county plans were developed and updated as needed, all of which were hefty tasks in and of themselves. Not to mention, they have also stepped up to the plate to take on additional responsibilities resulting from the vacancy in our office over the past 5 months. They did all of this through the transition of having a new director and without our office being fully staffed. They have rose to the challenge no matter the task, and they have demonstrated they are without a doubt some of the finest employees Kootenai County has. For these reasons, I would advocate that their efforts be recognized as they have clearly gone above and beyond their assigned roles.
Okay, so COVID's been with us now for over a year. What does their average work week look like, hours?
We're maintaining our 40, but in the height of this COVID pandemic, they were working overtime for sure from about March to July. They've done their best to remain in the 40. We do comp time sometimes, but during the pandemic, they did have about a month of overtime hours. Things have started to go back to normal, but I would say that this request is to recognize their efforts in the height of everything and the fact that this has been a sustained emergency and the fact that they have adapted through all of it to maintain the operations, not just for our office, but the whole entire county. For example, with the elections, they helped to source all the needed supplies needed for the 2020 election in November, providing them with hand sanitizer, gloves, masks, all of those things, which take additional time away from our day-to-day operations. It is our mission to respond to disasters. However, we've never seen anything that has taken this much focus. I mean, if you're looking at a flood or wildfire, you might be talking about a week, 2 weeks, and then there's the recovery aspect of it, but nothing like what we've seen with COVID.
Okay.
And are they hourly employees, so they did get overtime when they were?
Bill, you're the liaison. Thoughts?
Yeah, I would like to hear from Under Sheriff Matos. If you would, do you have? I assume you support this. I do. Do these people do anything more above and beyond than the rest of the people in the sheriff's office?
Yeah, I mean, not all the people in the sheriff's office. You got to kind of take it on a case-by-case basis. But the bottom line, and I defer to everything that Tiffany had to say, but the bottom line is during the pandemic, OEM was in the eye of the storm. And when it hit, they were tasked with setting up the EOC over at the among others, but they put it together over at the fairgrounds. They also ended up putting up an emergency hospital there that thankfully we didn't have to use. And as we went through this pandemic, they were also tasked with managing the various supplies and some financial components of it. And then all of this time, or at least part of this time anyway, they were doing it one person short, is that correct? So they got all this going on with the pandemic, and then we get a windfall from the CARES grant, or the CARES money that allows us to develop the OEM building that we're now in out at the old armory. So now they got COVID going on, and they're trying to manage these dollars, to try to get the new building or the old new building, however you want to look at it, get it put together. I do believe that they're a very good example of somebody that went above and beyond what they normally are required to do, and they did extraordinary work under extraordinary circumstances.
Okay.
So I know that bonuses are kind of a touchy thing, but in my heart of hearts and in my brain, if there was somebody that deserved it, they really do. It's budget neutral, and as it stands right now, I think there's still $11,000 surplus. So
That's true.
I think it's a fair ask.
Okay, thanks.
Do you have the flagpole painted and
Yeah,
the flag up?
It's up, and it's up. Yes.
Sylvia, any thoughts? Kim? Any other thoughts? Leslie?
I have to remain consistent. Yeah, I have to remain consistent. I know that there's at least a dozen more people that also would deserve bonuses countywide because they went above and beyond in COVID. And while I want to recognize, these people, we've already turned down other bonus requests, and I have been consistent in my stance on it at this point.
So, Commissioner, I don't want to get into combat here. But the truth is, back in September, you voted for your own people to give a bonus.
For the budgeted Christmas bonuses?
Can you?
No, you actually voted against it, I believe.
You voted against it.
So,
that
yes,
was for
with Parks and Waterways,
yeah.
yes, because exempt position was one of the highest ones. And then the other two also worked without a crew of 4. They were down 4 people.
I can say the same thing about the OEM folks. They worked hard, and fair is fair. If it's fair for one, it should be fair for the other. And again, with all due respect, we can agree to disagree. But if I didn't say that, I wouldn't be
that's
be
fine.
honest.
Sure.
But I think also when they did the OT, they were paid for the overtime because they're hourly employees. When we're dealing with salary exempt and people have to go above and beyond, I think we have a slightly different situation. Yes, it's expected of exempt employees, but even expectations have limits. But I get your point, Dan. Bill?
And Trish, I have to speak to that. I mean, yes, they did get compensated for the overtime, but their day was completely realigned and their processes and everything was askew in terms of their day-to-day business. I mean, it wasn't just a matter of working overtime. It was a matter of working a heck of a lot more efficiently, or being forced into working efficiently, you know, beyond, you know, what would normally be expected because of the pandemic. So they did indeed go beyond, and you know, it's not all about compensation, but it's also, at least in my view, is respecting their efforts. So,
Okay, fair enough.
anything else, commissioners?
Well,
Yes, sir.
Fine.
I just don't like to see above and beyond, because this year, almost everybody in one way or another has gone above and beyond, and that's just a little cliche-ish. But at the same time, I see they did move the office in the middle of, as you say, the eye of the storm,
Yes, sir.
and without missing a beat, and that took a lot of work.
It did, and again, and say, to address the above and beyond, I think maybe we're saying the same thing, maybe in a different way. They just worked exceptionally hard, and I just see that a bonus is a fitting thing to honor that work.
Okay, fair enough. Any other thoughts? Is there a motion?
Yeah, I move that we approve the request for employee bonuses for the Office of Emergency Management.
Second.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan.
Nay.
Chairman Philios.
Nay. It's a tough vote, I understand, but I also understand that the people are hourly and are putting in the time and are getting paid for it. Absolutely.
I didn't want to do this, but I'm going to. In February, Commissioner Filios, the board voted for their own people, and they deserved, I'm not talking about anybody not deserving a bonus. I think everybody deserved it. But the board voted for their own people under the same circumstance to get a bonus. Now, what is the difference between your people and the people that I represent?
Okay,
With all due
I think I
respect.
can answer that, and I will. I don't have to, but I will.
I understand.
Out of respect. Number one, and I'm not going to go through by name. One individual had to fill in for two people who are out with COVID at the same time. We are a very small office, and when one individual is out, it creates an undue burden. That individual who routinely works overtime, okay, had to fill in for two people gone at one time. Another individual, our communications manager, not only works with other departments, but routinely and almost on a weekly basis is here running the audio-video system in the evenings for community development for hearings, both before the hearing examiner and on occasion before the BOCC. And the third individual is working with a variety of different departments, automating some of the processes that we do, and some of them resulting, especially in the auditor's department and in community development, resulting in substantial savings. So it's not just a question of above and beyond. I can see it in dollars and cents.
So, you know, I believe everybody was here to hear what Tiffany had to say about what they did. How is that any different? I do not begrudge you a moment for those people that got the bonus. They deserve it. But I can make the same argument for our people as you make for yours.
Except her people are hourly, and if they're working the OT, they're getting paid for it.
Well, and we can get into some other dollars and cents, but this is budget neutral. You got $11,000 left over, and in my brain, why can't it just be possible to do something to respect people for the work they did that under a very difficult circumstance that went beyond, well beyond what they normally do when they come to work every day.
I gotta hand
We
it
can
to you.
debate it. You've already voted nay, but I want to say that for the record, with all due respect, you know, I do not think this is life's not fair, but neither is this. Because you did it for yours, you should be willing to do it for ours.
Well, Dan, if I did it for mine, and if that argument is to hold, I need to do it for everyone. And I'm not willing to go there, because not every situation is identical.
Well, we can still drink a cup of coffee and
Absolutely.
we can agree to disagree, but I completely disagree with you. But
And
thank
that's,
you.
and I appreciate the candor. You know I do.
Well,
Okay,
you
I'm
always
easy to
did it.
disagree with.
All right, thank you.
Leslie, do you want to reconsider?
No, I would be inconsistent if I reconsidered.
I knew you would ask that. Look, I don't like this any more than anybody else does, okay? I've been I'm an advocate of the increases and the increases that we've done in the studies that we've done. But I think in this situation, you have hourly employees. If they're working the extra hours, they're getting paid. And I don't in any way mean to undermine or in any way lessen the contribution that they made. But my concern is that it's becoming an increasing situation with bonuses. And I have asked that going forward for fiscal 22, that those bonuses be budgeted. Doesn't mean they're going to happen, but at least we can anticipate them. So, do you want to jump in one more time? You've already cast your votes.
I'll reconsider.
You want to reconsider?
Yeah, I'll vote for it.
Well, you did. Okay.
I really do think that this is a little different than a patrol deputy during COVID or somebody in the jail or somebody in the admin office. The focus was on emergency management at that time. I mean, not just people looking at it, but in terms of what they were doing was essential to us responding in a timely way and a consistent way to the coronavirus. And I initially said no, didn't I? And we talked about it, and I still thought no. And I've thought about it and decided yes.
Nobody in TV land can hear you, Dan.
Get up there. Yes, sir.
You know, there's more just at stake here, obviously, than dollars and cents. You know, this is a situation where you have an opportunity that's not going to hurt the budget. And I don't know that people in general would disagree with it. This is an opportunity to show employees that you valued their work. And I'm not saying that you don't, but I'm saying that this opportunity is something that's not going to cost a heck of a lot of money. And it's money that is already there. We're not coming to the board asking you to open the budget or take it, rob Peter to pay Paul. We're just asking you to allow Tiffany to reward the work that her folks have done out of her own budget.
I think a big concern, if I'm hearing Chris and Leslie correctly, is consistency and setting a precedent and doing things in accordance with policy. And I think sometimes as a commissioner, you have to step out of that and do things that are exceptional. And this is, for me, one of those situations.
Okay, we do need to move on. Go ahead, Tiffany, make your case. Yeah, go right ahead.
I could have came earlier asking for these requests during the summer or the fall, and I didn't come forward with this request until we had a vacancy in our office. So take into account COVID response and what my staff has been doing for COVID, but then take into account that we are down a position and we're only a staff of 4. The additional workload that takes on my staff is substantial. So that's why I brought the request before you. Yes, the work that my staff did to COVID alone was exceptional, but now taking on the additional burden of having a vacancy since November, that's an additional burden as well. But thank you guys for your time.
Does that vacancy still exist?
Yes, it still exists, and our last candidate and background's just pulled out, so we have to start the interview process all over again.
Okay, HR, let's go. You got to weigh in. You're the neutral party. Let's go. Weigh in.
Sylvia goes,
I don't write your review. I'm serious. Go ahead. I'm joking, of course.
Okay, so I may be a little biased because you know I have a public health background. I actually support this bonus request because it's unprecedented. And as Tiffany had said, you know, they do their day-to-day work. And if you respond to a fire, and I've been in those situations, and we handled H1N1 as well and did mass vaccination clinics and stuff.
This was back in Colorado.
But, yeah, but when you have a fire or a flood, it's a short period of time. But this is a pandemic. It's unprecedented. And they were looked at to get everything in place to help protect our community. They're the go-to people along with the health district and stuff. So I'm in support of it. maybe I'm biased, but I've seen that role in action in establishing your EOC and getting all your partners at the table, and also maintaining that continuity of operations so things run fluidly and flow appropriately, and we still provided services to the citizens. They did an exceptional job, and I support it, actually, so.
Yeah, well, and I totally agree with, them going above and beyond, but then I think, I can name a dozen people throughout the county right now who would deserve the same amount of bonus because they went above and beyond due to COVID reasons. So that's just kind of where I'm standing now. If we wanted to invite everybody who could make the same argument to apply for bonuses, then I wouldn't have to be inconsistent.
Kim, please.
I would just speak to their vacancy. I've sat on an interview panel twice for OEM with the previous director, and their positions are extremely hard to fill. They're very specialized. The education for those positions are extremely specialized, and so for it to be open the 6 months, it's a hard recruitment.
Yeah. All right, then. I'm changing my vote. But I'll tell you what, every one of these is going to get more and more difficult to the point where it's going to, for me, it's going to wind up, nope, bring them up in fiscal 22. Because if everyone is going above and beyond, that's government. That's what we're here for. If we don't jump in times of emergency, who will? Private industry isn't going to fill that gap. That's for us to do. But given the difficulty in the hiring, given the continued opening, given the savings, I'll change my vote to a yes. Okay? And I fully respect Commissioner Duncan's position. She's trying to be consistent. And frankly, I can't blame you for that. That is important. And sometimes it's difficult. Okay. Understood. Okay. We just passed. Okay, so are we moving on?
You need to actually redo.
We need to redo the motion. Okay. Who made the Leslie, you made the motion?
Bill made the motion.
Okay.
I'll make it again. I move that we approve the request for employee bonuses for the Office of Emergency Management.
Okay, I'll second.
Is that enough?
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan.
Nay.
Chairman Philios.
Aye, motion carried. Okay, item number 10, moving on. Exception to policy 120. This is the auditor, executive, never mind. We don't know that we need to. Go right ahead, Dina.
Mine should be easy. Our fixed asset accountant has requested to fill the vacant payroll position.
Oh, okay.
We want to just move him over laterally, even though the grade is different, and just keep him with the same pay. He is a disabled veteran.
Okay, and the grade is an upgrade, I assume?
The grade is a downgrade.
Oh, the grade is a downgrade.
But we want him to keep his same pay.
But the same pay,
He's
okay.
still within the pay grade that he would be moving into.
Understood.
There
Okay,
would be no budgetary impact.
got it. Any discussion?
Consistently, we do that across the board with these situations.
Okay. Motion.
I move that we approve the exception to policy 120 in the auditor's office.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan.
Aye.
Chairman Philios.
Aye, and the motion is carried. How did we get so many items? Never mind.
Consider limiting them,
Yeah, I think we will.
giving HR direction.
Yes, I think we'll need to do that. Okay. Some of these might take some discussion here. Request to extend temporary custodian, BOCC.
Yeah, so we've had a temporary custodian since last spring, I think. And I've heard from a couple different elected officials here in the admin, and they would like to continue that. And since that would be eligible for COVID dollars or contingency, then I would say that we continue this temporary custodian until September 30th. During the budget process, we will be discussing our RFPs, our request for proposals for custodian throughout the campus, and make a determination if it's going to be more cost effective to hire full-time employees to be our custodians rather than an outside company.
Okay, so we're not going to be making any decision or any changes until then, is that?
Today only is to extend the temporary position.
Okay. Bill?
No, I've seen the work that's being done, and I approve
Yep.
the extension.
Nancy, you had some thoughts on this? I hate to take you away from there, but you've done some analysis here, is that correct?
We did do some analysis, and the cost of bringing the custodians in-house would be an increase of about $10,000 a year. The cost of keeping this one employee until September it exceeds that. So, but if we're not ready to make that determination, then that would be up to the board.
And I gather we're not, right? at
No,
this
we're
point?
not, and these are COVID dollars as well.
Right.
So
Okay, fair
there's
enough.
the difference.
Okay, then. Motion?
I move that we approve extending the temporary custodian position until September 30th of 2021.
I second the motion. Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Item number 12, Holiday Leave Policy 312, Prosecuting Attorney, Civil Division. Darren Murphy.
Commissioners, this was an agenda item from a couple weeks ago. Sheriff brought this forward. Sylvia and I finally located, just a day or two ago, the 2000 version of Policy 312. And I think you should have that in your system. And it reads a little different than what I recalled that it read. In any event, Section H is the relevant section.
Oh, yes, okay.
For H. And that section, just in summary, it either allowed you, if you worked on a holiday, an hourly employee that worked on a holiday, either took a substitute, flexed out a day off within the next 120 days, or you were paid under this kind of strange formula after the or. Sylvia and I were working with solid waste today and talking about the history of the change of this policy to our current policy, and should have recognized this before, but it might create an operational issue for the Juvenile Detention Center and for solid waste. So it's our recommendation that you at least have a discussion with those departments. It's really not fair for us to speak on their behalf before you change a policy that might affect their operations, and then balance the needs of the sheriff with their needs. So that's our suggestion. The next department head meeting, if whoever goes to those meetings, to discuss that policy change and just take this old policy 312, and at least JP is aware of it, and we can give JP out of JC
So which departments particularly are
It's just
affected?
two. So
Go ahead,
the
juvenile.
sheriff's office, and then juvenile detention and solid waste. So my recollection, again, to refresh the board's memory, is that back in 2005, the then sheriff, Rocky Watson, and Roger Satterfield, who was the department head for solid waste, they asked that the county change this policy 312 because they didn't have staff to flex out a holiday date. And somewhere along the lines, the sheriff's office started banking hours, and Sheriff Bob Norris would like to change the policy so that they can bank hours with a cap. They want a cap.
Right, I remember.
I didn't appreciate this before either, but Dina pointed out, and I did read her spreadsheet, that there is a budgetary impact with the policy change. And I don't know if the board really appreciated that. I didn't, but after I read her spreadsheet, which should be in your files, that there would be.
It would have been during the last board meeting, so if you have your folder, you could open it up, or I have one copy here. That would show Dina's.
Yeah, I saw it.
Go ahead.
And then consider those two things, the budgetary impact and the impact to those other two departments, and then just give Sylvia and I some direction after that.
Okay. So we need to digest this and get back with you.
Yeah, and I think out of fairness, take it to
The two
Those departments?
Yeah.
change their world.
Okay, fair enough. So I guess Bill, you've got solid waste and
Yes.
KCSO.
I've
and
got
you've got
juvenile
juvenile
detention.
detention, yep.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Darren. Appreciate it. You bet. Dan?
I'm not exactly sure how we're budgeting for the holiday time. And I'm just saying now, going forward into the budget year, we should probably look at that real hard. There's some dollars, as I recall, over at the jail and maybe a little bit in patrol, but it doesn't cover all the expenses. And in our case, if they have to work the holiday, what we're doing now is we're putting it in their paycheck. I mean, if they get 8 hours of holiday in that pay period, then it goes in cash in their paycheck. So I guess the point I want to make, and for, you know, Dina's side of this thing as well, you know, it's not budget neutral in the sense that we have to pay for it somewhere, but the point here is that we got to pay for it one way or the other, and banking it could, in some ways, with some restrictions, actually save the county money because they would take the time off at a later date and not have to be compensated.
There'd be an upper limit to it, so you could control the growth. But like Dan said, we are paying for it, but we're not really budgeting the full amount that we anticipate. So from a transparency standpoint, we'll want to say, okay, if this is our policy, then what do we anticipate paying out rather than just relying on salary savings to cover the gap?
Okay.
And then when people take the comp time, then people are paid time and a half to fill their positions. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, if overtime is necessary, but if the time is plotted out correctly, it's not going to be necessary. We can move a shift around. People take vacation all the time, and you don't necessarily have to pay overtime every time. So,
Okay.
one other point is that when we looked at this roughly a year or so ago, you know, I was looking at it and I saw that we were way over the top on the hours. I mean, we had people upwards of 300 hours. Now, in that time, we've clipped it down to, I don't believe there's anybody, or maybe 2 or 3 that are just barely over 100. And that, I guess I put that out there as my bona fide to say that not only would we be able to manage it, but we've shown in the past that we've taken it serious and did it without any benefit to us other than doing it right.
Sure. And I think the upper limit is going to be one of the keys, because if you carry it for too long, then what happens is somebody changes rank. And so now what was that holiday pay at this level is now holiday pay at this
At a
level.
higher level.
So we want to make sure that we address that in the policy.
That's completely reasonable. The other issue where it could become budget or concerning of the budget is obviously if somebody quits or they retire, and that is compensable. So just like vacation time. So we're mindful of that, and we would manage that going forward.
Yeah, and retiring at the higher level, whereas they earned it down here, but now they're retiring up here is what we have to consider.
This is basically the employees that we're asking for it. But anyway, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. I guess we're done with that. Okay. All right, so we have direction. All right, thank you. Okay, item number 13. Initial classification results, Senior PC Network Specialist HR.
So
Kim?
you remember about a month ago, the Sheriff's Office and Information Technology with James came in and they were doing a little bit of a reorg. I apologize, we need to correct the grade that's listed on the sheet in front of you. It's a grade 10, not a grade 12 for the Senior PC Network Specialist. So this, basically item 13 and 14 are combined since we've changed the policy. So we're informing you of the grade that we've come up with. They had estimated a grade 10. So after going through our process, we concur with them that is reasonable and correct. And so bringing that to you and then also asking that it be adopted.
Okay, so are we consolidating 13 and 14?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we're looking from a change from a 12 to a 10.
Yes, so this was an initial classification. This position hadn't existed already. They do have PC network specialists, but this is a senior position. As you recall, an employee was retiring, and so they were kind of splitting some of that wage into this position and then bumping up the next position that we're going to talk about in a second.
Okay. Well said.
Yep, I think we're
motion.
good. I move, oh, yes.
No.
No.
That one's next.
I move that we approve the initial classification results for senior PC network specialist and that we also adopt the new grade for senior PC network specialist, which is
I
grade 10.
second the motion. Aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the motion's carried. Okay, so we're moving on actually to item 15.
Yes, so item 15 was also part of that ask between the Sheriff's Office and IT. This is for basically changing the Emergency Communications Operations Manager to a Systems Manager Public Safety Computer System. So another Systems Manager, which we have an existing grade within the county, so we ran it through that process. They had estimated a 12. We agree with their estimate. So we're asking you to adopt that grade.
Okay.
And once again, this is budget neutral compared to the whole overall organization.
I have Dina speak to that.
I don't know that I did a calculation for this one.
It would have been in, I believe, a February meeting.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't recall exactly.
Okay, but I think
there's gonna be-
overall,
And
the
that was
transition-
approved at the time.
Yes.
Budget's going to be moving around.
Yeah.
We're going to have some IT budget moving over.
But
to
I
the
think it
sheriff.
ended up as a savings overall with the reorganization. So I just wanted to make sure that this is still part of that same savings.
This is the final portion of it, as I understand it.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep. And Commissioner Duncan's the liaison, so she'd have a good handle on this. Okay. Any other questions? Motion.
I move that we approve the initial classification results for the 911 Systems Manager, grade 12.
I second the motion. Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Excuse me. Item 16, COVID-19 temporary sick leave policy, HR. Sylvia?
Yes, back in January of this year, the board approved the COVID-19 coronavirus temporary sick leave policy from January through March 31st to 21. And the reason we put that in place is because the Families First Coronavirus Response Act expired December 31st. We were still having high incidences of COVID positive cases just among our workforce. So that was put in place, but that is expiring, so that's why I'm bringing it back to you. Under the American Rescue Plan Act, which was signed into law on March 11th, the component of FFCRA, for short version of the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, they extended the tax credits, and that was a means through September 30th of 21, and the main purpose of it is to incentivize small to medium-sized organizations maybe to provide some sort of COVID sick leave. So before you have two options: allow the sick leave to expire, this temporary policy to expire, and Cecilia Sweet within our office has provided you with the Kootenai County COVID-19 employee paid summary. So early in January, end of December, we had 60 employees that had applied seeking some sick leave relief and assistance. And as of the last pay period, we were down to 2 requests. Our caseloads are declining among the community. We are considered at minimal risk. So it's at the board's discretion of whether you want to continue the policy or just let it sunset.
Thoughts?
I'm fine with sunsetting.
Bill?
Yep, I think we've overcome the bump. So let's get back to normal.
I agree. Motion?
And I don't think we need.
Or do we need a
It'll
motion?
just expire.
We just
Just let it expire. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
So then, Darren, the only other thing, and I don't know if we can handle it under public comment or talk about it later, or it's administrative, I would like to give direction to HR to have no more than 10 items at any one HR meeting.
I agree.
Okay.
Bill?
5? No. 10's fine. It's just when there's the potential, like today, for 7 executive sessions, I mean, we'd be here till dinner.
Yeah.
Well, and I appreciate the board giving us those guidelines so that we can tell
Yep.
people as they're coming in, hey, you know, we're at a cap and it's gonna have to wait 2 weeks.
Right, and we normally move very expeditiously
Well,
through
I
these
think-
because we typically don't need exec, but
Yeah.
in the event we do,
This is the first time that we've gone close to an hour, I think, or one of the few times.
okay,
I think
you have direction.
You do a good job.
Public comment,
Thank you.
hearing none. 11:50, meeting adjourned. Thank you.